Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But what does it mean to live an examined life when our days are filled with examining screens rather than ourselves? Perhaps unexamined now means existing in a perpetual stream of distraction, our minds swimming in headlines and highlights, while our deeper thoughts lie untouched. In Plato's Republic, the allegory of the cave is not merely a myth, it is a timeless diagnosis. Chained prisoners face a wall, watching shadows cast by a fire behind them. To them, the shadows are the whole of reality. How could they see anything but the shadows if they were never allowed to move their heads? Plato asks. The tragedy is not simply that they are deceived, but that they have no concept of the deception. In our world, the chains are less visible, crafted from convenience, habit, and subtle algorithmic seduction. The cave's walls are made of pixels, its shadows delivered in curated feeds, trending clips, and infinite scrolls. If Plato lived today, he might say, we are not chained by force, but by choice. The real question is unsettling. If someone offered you the way out, would you take it? Or would you stay in the warm glow of familiar illusions? Plato begins with the prisoner's world, flat, confined, two-dimensional. Every perception is a shadow. Every sound is an echo. The world is consistent, predictable, because it is controlled. And in that predictability lies the first comfort. When one prisoner is freed, his first reward is pain. He turns toward the fire and finds it too bright. The familiar silhouettes dissolve into strange, solid forms. Plato writes, men would believe the truth to be nothing else but the shadows of the images. It's not just that we mistake illusions for reality, we become emotionally attached to them. They are the furniture of our minds. As he ascends, the prisoner passes from darkness to dim light, then to daylight itself. The sun, a symbol of the form of the good, overwhelms him. His eyes ache, his instincts tell him to retreat, but persistence reveals the world as it is, vivid, detailed, and alive. And yet, when he returns to the cave, the others do not rejoice. They mock him, they pity him. They whisper that the light has blinded him. Plato warns that they might even kill him, just to preserve their peace. Here is the first parallel to our time. Whistleblowers, investigative journalists, and thinkers who challenge prevailing narratives are often met not with gratitude, but hostility. The cave has always defended itself. Today's shadows arrive not from a fire, but from countless digital flames, screens that accompany us everywhere. We carry the cave in our pockets. The shadows are no longer crude outlines, they are high definition, algorithmically tailored, and emotionally optimized to keep us watching. Marshall McLuhan noted, all media exist to invest our lives with artificial perceptions and arbitrary values. In other words, the medium shapes not only what we see, but how we value it. The algorithm has replaced the fire, constantly adjusting the shadows for maximum engagement. Jean Baudrillard warned, we live in a world where there is more and more information and less meaning. We are drowning in shadows. The more we consume, the less we reflect. And like the prisoners, we often mistake volume for truth, assuming that the most visible shadows are the most real. We need to ask, if our media feeds are our walls, who chooses what we see? And more urgently, how much of our reality exists only because someone decided we should see it? In Plato's cave, all prisoners saw the same show. In ours, each has a private screening, an algorithmic theater calibrated to their biases, desires, and fears. This is the echo chamber, where the only shadows you see are the ones you already like. Eli Pariser called these filter bubbles, a unique kind of invisible auto-propaganda. Here, the prison is comfortable because it agrees with you. Socrates warned, false words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. In a personalized cave, even the lies are pleasant. Descartes offered an antidote. If you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that, first, you doubt as far as possible all things. But in a cave designed to flatter us, doubt feels like betrayal. The danger is subtle. When you only see one version of the world, you forget there are others. And when you forget, you stop looking. Why stay in the cave?
Because it feels good. The dopamine hits from likes, shares, and retweets are the modern chains. The shadows are no longer grim illusions. They are entertaining, flattering, addictive. Aldous Huxley warned in Brave New World, "A man can smile and be a villain." In our context, the villain is not necessarily a person, but a system designed to keep us comfortable in ignorance. Plato understood that ignorance can be bliss, and bliss can be addictive. Epictetus said, "Only the educated are free." But freedom here is not just political, it is freedom from compulsive illusion. And such freedom cannot be engineered for you, it must be claimed. In Plato's Allegory, shadows exist because someone carries objects before the fire. These are the puppet masters, unseen, unchallenged. Today, the puppet masters are many: platform algorithms, advertisers, influencers, propagandists. Some are human, many are automated. Plato wrote, "Those who tell the stories rule society." The twist is that today's stories are told at machine speed. McLuhan noted, "Control over change would seem to consist in moving not with it, but ahead of it." The modern puppet master is always ahead, testing, refining, shaping what you will see tomorrow. If we cannot see them, how can we resist them? Plato's answer is ancient but enduring. Turn around. Look at the source, not the shadow. Plato tells us that the freed prisoner's painful ascent toward the sunlight is the work of education. But here's the critical detail. Education in Plato's sense is not about filling the mind with facts. It's about reorienting the entire soul. It's not downloading new information. It's changing the direction you face. When the prisoner first stumbles toward the light, he resists. The light hurts. The new shapes are unfamiliar. The world outside the cave is too vast to take in at once. He might prefer the comfortable clarity of the shadows to the overwhelming complexity of reality. This is what makes education so difficult. It forces us to leave a small, tidy world for a larger, messier one. Aristotle captured it perfectly. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. To entertain a thought is to walk around it, to see it in daylight, without rushing to label it as friend or enemy. In our time, this means cultivating media literacy and philosophical reflection, not simply absorbing headlines, but interrogating them. It means resisting the temptation to scroll past discomfort, to mute or block the idea that challenges you. Plato writes, "The object of education is to teach us to love what is beautiful." And here, beautiful doesn't mean what's merely pleasing. It means what is whole, truthful, and life-giving, even if it is difficult to look at. At the turn of the millennium, the Matrix translated Plato's allegory into green code and leather jackets. Neo lives a life that feels real until Morpheus offers him a choice: the blue pill to remain in illusion, the red pill to awaken into the brutal desert of the real. The parallels are deliberate. The simulated reality of the Matrix is Plato's cave. The agents are the puppet masters. The humans plugged into the system are the prisoners, their entire perception of reality manufactured by a hidden architecture. But beyond fiction, philosopher Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis suggests something unnerving. It is statistically plausible, he argues, that we ourselves live in a simulation created by a civilization far more advanced than ours. If true, then our most cherished experiences, the warmth of the sun, the taste of food, the sound of a friend's laughter, could all be nothing more than finely tuned shadows. What would Plato say to this? Likely the same as he said to the prisoners. It doesn't matter how convincing the illusion is. What matters is that there may be something beyond it. And the philosopher's duty is to turn toward that beyond, even if it is unimaginable.
Jean Baudrillard, the French philosopher, warned of a stage beyond illusion, hyperreality. In hyperreality, there is no longer a distinction between the shadow and the object. The simulation does not mask reality, it replaces it. He writes, Disneyland is presented as imaginary in order to make us believe that the rest is real, when in fact the rest is no longer real, but of the order of the hyperreal. We pretend that there is a real world outside the fantasy, when much of our real life is itself structured like the fantasy, scripted, curated, staged for an audience. In Plato's terms, this is when the shadows become so intricate and all-encompassing that the very idea of a sun becomes irrelevant. The prisoner might forget there was ever an outside world to discover. Deepfakes, AI-generated influencers, augmented reality filters, all are steps toward a state where the question, is it real, is less important than, is it believable? When was the last time you mistook something for reality only to find it was staged? And did it matter to you once you found out? Virtual reality offers us something new, the chance to walk willingly into the shadows. The Metaverse promises to be a permanent, shared cave, a place where we can live, work, and play in spaces untethered from physical reality. Used wisely, VR could be a philosopher's laboratory, a tool to expand perspective, simulate historical events, cultivate empathy. Used unwisely, it could be a velvet-lined prison where we escape from the world instead of engaging with it. A modern commentator warns, we must not forget that the ultimate goal is not to replace our reality with a virtual one. VR should help us broaden our horizons, not limit us to another metaphorical cave. The seduction is strong. Why face the messiness of the sunlit world when a headset can transport us to a curated paradise? But Plato would remind us, the more vivid the shadow, the harder it is to remember the sun. Elon Musk's Neuralink envisions a future where the brain is directly linked to computers. Musk has speculated about replaying memories, enhancing senses, even transferring consciousness. If this comes to pass, shadows will no longer be projected onto a wall. They will be fed directly into the neural pathways that construct our reality. The cave will not be a place we inhabit, it will be a state we carry within our own skulls. Imagine a future where your most cherished memories could be edited or replaced entirely. Would you know? Would you want to? This is the philosophical precipice. When illusion and reality share the same circuitry, freedom will depend not on seeing the truth, but on choosing it. If you could erase your worst memory, would you? Even if it meant erasing what you learned from it? Plato's freed prisoner returns to share the truth, only to face mockery and hostility. This is the pattern of history. Socrates himself, Plato's teacher, was executed for urging Athens to examine itself. He warned, to find yourself, think for yourself. Yet thinking for oneself often means standing apart, and standing apart invites suspicion. In our time, truth-tellers face their own trials: social ostracism, digital cancellation, political persecution. The more comforting the illusion, the more viciously it defends itself. The cave does not open its gates willingly. If you saw the truth and knew speaking it would cost you everything, would you still speak?
No one drags you out of the cave without your consent. Freedom is not automatic, it is chosen. Kierkegaard observed, people demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought, which they seldom use. We guard our right to speak, but how often do we guard our right to think? To turn toward the light is to accept the risk of being wrong, of being uncomfortable, of losing the neatness of the shadow world. The choice is daily, often invisible, to click the article that confirms our view or the one that challenges it, to stay in the feed or to look up. When you last faced an uncomfortable truth, did you lean in or scroll past? Plato's allegory of the cave ends with the moral demand. Those who see the light must return for those still chained. Freedom is not a private luxury, it is a public responsibility. Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Returning to the cave is dangerous. The freed prisoner risks being ridiculed, ignored, or even destroyed, but to refuse to return is to leave the others in darkness. In the digital age, this duty might mean challenging misinformation, opening dialogue with those in echo chambers, or mentoring those learning to question. It might mean being patient with the chained, remembering that you were once one of them. Plato's allegory of the cave is not about ancient Greece. It is about us. The cave is our mind, our culture, our media, our habits. The shadows are the images, stories, and beliefs we take for reality. We all have caves, we all have shadows, and the journey toward the light is never finished, because even in the sunlight, there are new caves, subtler shadows. Socrates' challenge still stands. Live an examined life. Ask every day, what are the shadows on my wall? Who holds the fire? And when the light comes, as it always will you turn toward it, or will you close your eyes?